Welcome. Today, I'm going to be contributing to this session, and I was thinking about how to ground it. And so I'm going to we're going to make up a fictional VR world called Hollow Park, and we'll use that to sort of ground the conversation. Hopefully, you can see the balance of open versus closed models and the impacts that has on XR or extended reality trust. And so let's jump right in. I don't need to belabor it. Kavya, you were very kind in your introduction, but I also used to serve as CyberXR's president to make some of these XR experiences a little bit more equitable and inclusive for all. And yeah. All right. I guess a lot has been said today about this topic, and I guess we might as well just, put a pin in trying to get additional clarity for what open and closed means, as it is pretty vital. So an example of open, as we all know, is Llama's suite of portfolio of open source models. I'm not going to get into what we mean by that level of open, whether it's the data, whether it's the weights. A lot has been talked about there, but for the context of this, for the scope of this conversation, let's call that open. Flux, and a popular image model, that competes with Midjourney, if you're familiar with, is also an open model. Why is it open? It's publicly available. If you go on to popular platforms like Hugging Face or Kaggle, you'll be able to sort of pull down some of these tools. They allow you to, remix or reuse it. If you look at the leaderboard on Hugging Face, you'll notice a lot of these open models are remixed, for whether it's Mistral's series of models or Llama series of models. They're remixed and improved and modified in many ways that the entire community gets to, collaborate on. And because of this, it opens a lot of trust. It's community driven. It's innovative in that sense. It also, because of the open collaboration, sort of exposes a lot of potential security issues that the community sort of and well-known security firms get to scramble on. And arguably, it's I wouldn't call it free, but it is lower cost to operate in some cases if you're looking at sort of token cost and not I'm not talking about operational expenses. So it's like the servers that you have to do that. On the other side, you've got models that are like the O1 models from OpenAI or Google's Gemini that are proprietary. There's not a lot of insight into how to modify it, and if they do provide those um, capabilities, it is within the walls of that ecosystem. And it's often very high usability and user experience for what it's worth versus an open model. Um, you know, uh, because we don't have a lens into how these models actually um, got delivered outside of the white papers that often get released with these. There is a low level of trust, and but there's a high level of security. One can argue because it's sort of centralized and robust in the way that any private company would have a fiduciary responsibility to keep. And so we need to keep these definitions in mind. My little fictional Hollow Park story will sort of illustrate the difference between transparency and trust. And I'm going to use the word trust. And I define trust in this context as, the transparency that we afford our consumers or our partners to deliver our solutions, the value that we're delivering to our audience or our customers, and the acceptance of any consequences that may happen. So that's how I define trust. Okay. Um, so let's sort of compare and contrast open versus closed in the context of sort of metaverse governance. So say I'm going to use that Hollow Park example. Again, it's not a real company. It's not supposed to be um, sort of mimicking a real world application, but you have this open world metaverse solution that where the strategy is to use an open model. So open models in this context allowed the Holopark team to improve, audit, and correct models that they're using for their solutions, increasing collective trust. And it's again, it's transparent. That means they provide the context that about how they use the data. They provide the choices for me and you to consent to using said data or to shed our data, and of course the controls to revoke consent if we so choose. So that transparency is key, and obviously that comes with some level of a choice. So, say for example, communities can contribute safety filters, share new features, and flag harmful content early on. And so openness empowers, in this hypothetical case, quick community-driven oversight, safety improved, and fostering trust along the way. Now, there are advantages and opportunities for the closed approach as well. Um, you know, in this case, Hollow Park decided to pivot. Let's say they closed off their models. They claimed it would stop abuse. In reality, what that does is it hides problems from public view. That could be strategic, right? Just depending on the context in which this application is being used. But without transparency, harmful behaviors that festered in this tool remain undetected by most unless there's an audit or some regulatory pressure. And, as with any internet connected thing, there's going to be a boom event. So if there is an inevitable issue, trust then plummets quicker with those tools, right? And so by locking the system, our hypothetical holopark system didn't eliminate the threats per se. They just made it harder for the open community to detect. So I guess I'm going to say here that true safety is not about hiding models. It's about governing them openly. And this is an opinion. Open models risk faster spread of bad content, say, for example, if they're unmanaged, but can be swiftly corrected. Closed models claim control, but can be slow to respond. And you've got your trust factor affected. And obviously that erodes user trust and invites new scrutiny from regulatory pressure to your board and the like. So the trade-off really isn't about whether to allow openness. It's about how to govern openness effectively with closed systems, which I believe closed systems don't really do all of that well. And we've seen OpenAI try different governing structures to try to bring some transparency in there, and they're still trying to figure that out to this day. But to analyze the societal impact of open foundation models, it's very important for us to consider factors such as, that has been talked about today in previous talks. So, effective governance for open models in at least within the bounds of the metaverse should prioritize, in my opinion, transparency, community oversight, open feedback loops, that flywheel, as it were, to further improve. And to do that, we need regular audits by independent experts like myself and my firm to help identify vulnerabilities and ensure compliance with ethical guidelines. We need clear and accessible channels for users to report issues and provide feedback, um, you know, which is super important for identifying and addressing emerging threats, for example. We need to encourage the development of standards, collaborative development of standards and guidelines for the use of these tools. I believe fosters this sense of shared responsibility, and it promotes ethical AI development. And Yeah, I'm sorry, I went too far ahead, but yeah, if it's open, it can facilitate extensibility or even interoperability, right? By allowing different platforms to utilize and build upon the shared AI framework. We hear a lot about agents, right? And there's a lot of research and applied work into bridge building a protocol for agents, especially when applied to metaverse style applications, to have a protocol to be able to sort of interoperate with across different systems, which brings more value to the system. Um, and 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 of course, how do we measure success? Platforms should define and report, and it should be more open where we define and report metrics on safety misuse. There are lots of organizations, some of whom are represented at Metaverse Week this year, and I'm very excited to hear they help us, how they help sort of shine some light to make our consumers aware when they're interacting with an AI system to promote transparency and again, trust, so that they can make informed decisions. We treat them with that level of respect. So I guess this is a call to action. Like we have to engage policymakers, partner with responsible delivery apparatuses like developers and communities to set the standards. And this is not a novel concept. This is already ongoing. But I wanted to reemphasize that meaningful safety requires collective oversight and not secret controls, I don't believe. And so I guess, you know, if there's one thing to take away from this call, let's keep these frameworks and systems accountable and open without compromising or stymieing innovation, as the EU is often unfairly criticized of doing. I will share some of the works that went into some of this research by sharing the slides with Kavya and Banu, and I'd like to thank um, the organizing committee here for giving me an opportunity to share 10 minutes of my thoughts.